strike here, strikes here. So this is the New Madrid seismic zone in South Missouri, a bend in the plate where Mother Nature can't go past. Let me show it to you. Or where actually Mother Nature can go past, but it takes a little push. So it gets caught here in the N-shaped bend of the New Madrid seismic zone. Now don't mistake the Mississippi River Valley here on the western side with the bend in the plate to the eastern side. Let me turn off all our place marks and everything like that. Now you should be able to see it. So taking a look at it this way, compared to the edge of the craton. Comparing it to the edge of the craton, you're going to see our U-shaped bend going down through Alabama and through Mississippi. And you'll see it go up the east coast, and those are the mountain ranges. So the glaciers that used to exist came down and butted up against here, but the edge of the craton was much older, of course. Now, this is the Mississippi River Valley going down through Louisiana. And it goes up across, so this is St. Louis right here, my hometown. And right down here is the bend in the edge of the craton. Now you'll see it goes over to the west, and we have more similar funky shaped mountains that are bends and curves in the edge of the plate. Just like over here, just like right here, we have right here. So this is Arkansas. Now let's turn our borders and labels back on for reference. Coming out of Arkansas, we get into Oklahoma, and we'll make a bend to the south, following that craton edge again. So we make a bend down through Texas, and it goes down and makes a U-shaped bend down through South Texas. And the bend in the craton is 1,000-foot rise. This looks like a river, doesn't it? It looks like a depression or a river. That's not. That's a bulge. This is a giant bulge, and it's 1,000-foot rise. It goes from 400-foot sea level here. Let me turn on our terrain. Goes from 400-foot sea level over here to 1,400 feet over here. 1,000-foot rise. Not just there, though, all the way up across. And it goes through Fort Worth and Dallas, and then it makes a bend over across Arkansas and goes back into the New Madrid seismic zone. So are you following me here on the edge of the craton? The craton gets pushed, goes down through Texas, back up through Oklahoma, over to the east, down to the south, back up to the north, and that's the path that our earthquakes take. And that's the path they're taking now. So this just explains the interior portion of the craton. It doesn't talk about what's going on over in California. Let's get into this. So we'll start over here at the north portion of the northwest and work our way down the coast. So we have a line of earthquakes all the same size. 1.0, 1.1, 0.9, 1.5, 0.8, and 1.0. Now this line of quakes here is a diagonal line going from the Strait of Juan de Fuca down the Puget Sound, ending at Mount St. Helens. So let's go pull up the Mount St. Helens quake. 29 kilometers south of Morton, Washington. We're right on the side of the volcano. And this is a change from yesterday. We were inside the crater at the volcano. So we go from inside the crater to outside the crater. And this is like a circus tent top that's rising. So first the center rises, then the outside edges then follow. So first this, then outside edges. And that's exactly what's happening today. Yesterday, we were at Mount Rainier. Now we're to the west of Mount Rainier. In case you guys don't know, that's where these earthquakes are striking. This one right here, west of Mount Rainier. This is the Strait, or the Puget Sound, and this is the Strait of Juan de Fuca. Okay, so we get down here and we stop at the Oregon border with no earthquakes, again, yet reported today. So what's going on? No earthquakes? Again, no earthquakes. They're not being reported. That's all I've got to say. So we're going to skip over Oregon, even though they're not reporting earthquakes, and we'll get down here to California. Now, we need to talk about this. This is a place called Geysers, and the name speaks for itself. It's on the flanks of a volcano called Mount Conaxi, which is on Clear Lake Volcano volcanic field. So Clear Lake Volcano is a greater caldera that has Mount Conaxi inside, and on the side of Mount Conaxi, here, let's show it to you. And let me turn all my place marks back on. This is Clear Lake, and Mount Conaxi is right in the middle, and this apparently did blast or deformed at some point in the past. How do we know that? Well, you can read the Smithsonian on this. Or we can just come down on the side of the volcano and go look at all of our geothermal pumping operations, where these are geothermal turbines, and these are pipelines connecting to drill points where they go down a few hundred to a few thousand feet inside to get that steam. Well, there's pressure that's created when force is applied, and these volcanic locations start to light up. Now these earthquakes, all fault zone movement, all the same size. 2.1 up to the north, and now we go over to the east. Let's go pull this. Greenville, California. It is green there. It is. Well, it's probably pretty dry there right now, and there are fires going over to the west. Oh man, again, those fires. But what's here? Lake Almanor is right next to this, and the biggest volcanic field in Northern California, associated with Lassen Peak, right here. But these are all smaller volcanoes going down to the south. This one is marked from the Ice Age, but Black Cinder Volcano, Bonte Peak, Mount Harkness, Cinder Cone Butte State Park, and the lava flows off it. So you get the picture. It's huge. And these are all shield volcanoes. Some of these too, like Cal Mountain, these are shield volcanoes as well. Cone Mountain. Why isn't it marked as a volcano? It should. It's a shield volcano with a cone and a crater at the top. All these should be marked as volcanoes. I don't know why they're not. Am I missing more volcanic place? Oh no. Oh no. We're missing more volcanic place marks now. Because these, okay, we'll have to go see what's going on there, right? They might be. Google is doing some stuff with trying to get people to switch over to the web-based version of Google Earth. We'll see what's up with that. Okay, so going over to the east, we've got a speckle of earthquakes going across south of Lake Tahoe. Reno, your geothermal pumping operation has stopped moving. And geysers, it's gone down to next to nothing. Well, we know when geysers goes down to next to nothing, and if our other geothermal pumping operation goes down next to nothing, we need to look off the coast for a new release to happen. Well, wasn't there just a 4.6? There sure was, but that's nothing in comparison to what's going on around the rest of the plate. So if you live on the west coast, this 4.6 is just the first round of it. The rest of the plate got hit by 5s. So of course you're going to get hit by something like a 5 up here in the middle of our silent zone. But now there's a new silent zone that's formed. And that's between this huge cluster down in California and this new 4.6 off the coast. And where does that bring us in? Coast of California, right here. And magnitudes, guys, we're playing around with 6s going around the plate. So it's nothing to scoff at. And when you look at a 6 potential out here off the coast, that puts 5 potential down to the south, down into LA, where we have a giant open silent zone. Let me show it to you. So we have a big stack of earthquakes on the... Well, actually, I'm going to start calling this the creeping section of the San Andreas to the south, the Anza Gap creeping section, because this section, the San Jacinto, is slow slipping as compared to the San Andreas actual creeping section, which is south of San Francisco. So this spot has been moving, and let me show it to you on the USGS fault zone map so you can get a better understanding if you're in California what's going on here. There's a reason you're shifting, and it's going to go up. We're going up around the board, around the planet, guys, so you need to listen up. It's nothing to, oh yeah, I'm from California, I'm used to this. Okay, well, are you used to a slow slip that can cause a large megaquake? That's not my take on it. That's the professionals. The professionals put out a warning last October, this was 10 months ago, saying that this section here, the San Jacinto, was in slow slip mode at Anza Gap. Now that's when 2 plates start going into motion. It's not just a fault zone moving, it's 2 plates. Now normally, the San Andreas would be in motion. It is the plate boundary. It's the big red line that goes all the way up to the Juan de Fuca and up to Alaska and over across to the Pacific. The big red line is the San Andreas. The small red line next to it is a diagonal adjacent fault that connects from here at Big Bear, just west of Big Bear, east of LA, and it connects down south of Salton Sea Volcano and meets up at El Centro, where all of our pumping operations are, our geothermal and volcanic locations here. I'll show those to you in a second. So this is all moving, this whole section, from Big Bear down past to Salton Sea. It's not my take on it. Look at it. So in the middle of it all, this is just today's quakes. And if you've been paying attention for the last several weeks and months, you know that this whole thing has built up a lot of energy. Now, according to professionals, these areas will build up a lot of energy and build it up like a spring tension. So imagine this, building up like a spring tension. And then it releases all of its energy in one fell swoop with a single large earthquake. That happened over in Japan in 2011 with the slow slip building in tension on the east coast of Japan. And it resulted in a 9.0 earthquake on a nearby fault. Well, professionals have said this is going to happen in Southern California once this finally releases. Well, this is still tightening. This is still the tightening of the spring. It's been going on for 2 years almost. So all it's going to take is a final too tight of a turn, and we're going to see one release. Now, when is that going to happen? I don't think that's going to happen now. It could happen now. I mean, it's possible. It's within the realm of possibilities, but possible and likely are two different things. So what I want you to be prepared for, I want you to be prepared for 5.0 activity in the LA Basin based upon the potential of a 6 point something striking out here. So let's say it's a 6.4 or 6.7 or 7, but let's say it's in the 6 range. 6.0 strikes here, then 5.5, somewhere in the low end 5 to mid-range 5 strikes down in the LA Basin. Why? There's a shift, and it goes into the middle of the silent zone. Silent zone starts in the southern creeping section of the San Andreas and picks up over here east of LA. So the halfway point brings us down in here, Channel Islands, right along the coast. Now there's other areas further up the coast that are also going to be impacted if a large earthquake strikes. That would be over in Washington. We'll see an increase across the board. So it all hinges. Again, all these things that I'm talking about all hinge upon something that hasn't happened yet. So the events that happen after the event that hasn't happened yet. So we're waiting and watching, and very closely. With this that happened down here in the Caribbean, this is no time to play around at all. And if you know anybody, now here's the deal. We know where the force starts. It starts down below the plates. It follows the avenues, which are the plate boundaries and fracture zones. And it ends up at the termination points, the X's. It recycles back through the planet and comes back out on the antipode with a new set of deep earthquakes. That's the normal flow of this. But a feedback loop is happening right now. Are you guys familiar with feedback loops? Just like the standing wave that I showed you in the tank a few minutes back, that a feedback loop, like a microphone picking up its own sound, will build upon itself, and that it can actually have a breaking effect of the system that it's contained in. So in this case, we're talking about a feedback loop that started 2 weeks ago, my wife's birthday of all days. Started here, went up and around, okay? So it started here, went over to Europe, up to the North Pole, to Alaska, back down around past Japan, and ended up back down here. And it fed back into itself. A feedback loop of 6s. And then, boom, deep 8. Now we get a feedback loop going this way, out and around this way, and out and around this way. A double-sided wave tank. That's what's happening. It's the most phenomenal thing I've ever seen. And that is saying something because I've seen a lot of seismic events, including the Japan megaquake, which was a shallow, large earthquake that was phenomenal. But this is displacing the whole planet. Japan did displace the whole planet, but it took weeks for that to happen. It took first the big quake in Japan, then subsequent activity breaking out shallow, and it started to lose energy across distances. This is picking up. It's actually feeding into itself. One more time, that feedback loop. Even the untrained eye should be able to see that the last 48 hours, one more time, the last 48 hours has gone through the roof, with the largest in years in the Caribbean, and a big earthquake over here right next to where our push began. New Zealand, you're under the gun. Papua New Guinea, Indonesia, you are. Philippines, Japan, you are. Kamchatka, Kuril Islands, you are. Aleutians, you are. West Coast, you are. Midwest, we are. I haven't even talked about the Midwest, other than to tell you about the little swarms. Look, if we get a 5.5 out here on the West Coast and a 6 out here, guess who's going to light up with activity? Well, not the New Madrid. Here, on the New Madrid seismic zone, where they've drilled a whole bunch. They've drilled a heck of a lot here on the New Madrid seismic zone across Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and it catches the force. And I call it the New Madrid for a reason. Humpty Dumpty is broken. You can't put Humpty Dumpty back together again. Too many drill points. So forevermore, you are going to be the spot to catch new pressure as it comes from the West Coast and goes over to the Midwest. We will get the scraps off your table. Eventually, we will build up. Like, it'll take a big earthquake over here, and then we'll get hit over on the New Madrid. But again, it'll be the scraps off your table because the force is coming from the West, and you guys stepped in. So now that you understand the basic principles, let me remind everyone here listening, please share the information and let everyone know We are certain now that injuries may have been averted. Well, there were people in chat when the earthquakes for Indonesia struck. They got the warning and they were firsthand reporting to us from the location. People in Indonesia got the warning. People over here in New Caledonia, people over in Vanuatu, they got the warning and it hit. People over in Venezuela, they got the warning. Right? We're positive about that. So the people in Venezuela got the warning and then the earthquake hit. So certainly this can help reduce the amount of injuries and maybe even possibly stop fatalities. Now, we can't get, I'm not going to say we're playing God. You can't stop when it's your time, it's your time. But I can certainly tell you, knowing when you're going to be impacted by something, it's like a car accident. When you know it's coming, at least you can brace. Same thing for an earthquake. So we're talking about an impact here of seismic proportions. I want you to pay attention to this like watching the weather. So watch it come your way. This is why we have the arrows on the map. So you can watch. Look, do you think it's any coincidence that both of our arrows were hit down here at Africa, of all over the continent? Do you think it's any coincidence all of our X's have been hit on the money? It's not a coincidence. And people who say it is don't understand the basics behind seismic forecasting. If you're curious and you want to know how to forecast an earthquake, I've already explained it in depth in my most recent global earthquake forecast video. You're welcome to repeat the method, and as long as you give me credit back if you use it, I'm happy with you guys using it. So just remember where you heard it, and of course, get the word out. If you're here on Twitch, I would appreciate it if you'd follow my channel. You can follow, it's free. Or if you subscribe, subscribing's even better, because that then supports my operation. I'm trying to achieve Twitch partner status, and that requires me to, of course, meet all kinds of requirements. That requires me to meet requirements. Okay. So you get the picture. I'm trying to grow the channel on Twitch. If you're over on YouTube, I got it on so that you guys can get the emergency warnings out to everybody. And we have no excuse for people not to be getting warnings at this point. If you need somebody to blame, you can blame me. I'm trying to get the warnings out. And if anything changes, I'll be back on at a moment's notice. So far, it's played out exactly as expected. Transferring across the plate, striking with a large earthquake in Venezuela, and transferring over to the west, striking at our middle fulcrum point. This is on day 1 into day 2. We're 48 hours in, going on 72 hours. So 72 hours in will be 3 days in. It's a 10-day watch from the point of this big, deep quake. And right now, we're getting into day 3. So that would mean a week more, 1 week more, watching till the 28th. Okay, this is going to overlap with my forecast on Sunday night. That's how big of a deal this is. This is longer than a week. This is going to play out. So, do you have an earthquake plan? I'm serious now. Do you have an earthquake plan? Seriously, you need one? That's my best advice. I don't know where you live. If you live in a brick or a cinder block house, you're going to need to exit the structure. But if you're going to exit, you better darn well know what's outside. You should go look at some of these damage videos over in Venezuela, where stone has broken off the outside of these structures and fallen down many stories. But the structure itself, big, tall, high-rise, totally fine. So if you're running outside of a building, you might be in worse shape than staying inside and taking shelter underneath a table or a desk. It would take a tremendously large earthquake to cause, sky rises, skyscrapers to fall. But in a 7.0 earthquake, whether you're going to take shelter inside or if you're going to go outside, know your surroundings, and please, for crying out loud, will you develop an emergency kit as well? You most likely have these things in your house. I just don't know if you've gone around and put them into a bag. That's it. Whether you love me, hate me, or don't know who I am, I'm here to tell you now. Please get a bag and put the things in it that you need to survive for a day. And then that way you can survive to come back online and hate on me or whatever you want to do. But first things first, survive. And surviving means having a plan and being prepared. It's my best advice to you, okay? Now, we did not get into Hawaii tonight. We'll just quickly tell you, in Hawaii, there's ongoing heat, steam, and nothing has changed at all from last night or today with my previous updates. So if you're not aware of what's going on in Hawaii, Kilauea collapsed. We have heat coming up, steam coming up, and silence, radio silence, picture silence, no good updates, no nothing from the HVO all of a sudden. They were doing such a good job and then cut it off as soon as that sulfur was detected down inside. Who detected that sulfur down inside? We did. I did. On video, on camera. They said it was low levels. We found a house-sized deposit of sulfur on the bottom of the crater, and they just, no more pictures, no more nothing. I can't say that that's related. I just have to tell you, in Hawaii, I don't have anything more to bring to you. They cut us off for now. And let's hope that changes. So what else is going on? Anything else? You've got your earthquake plans. You've got your emergency kit assignment. It's home. Hey, let's make it homework. When was the last time, my adult viewers, when was the last time you guys had homework? Well, your homework is to go develop an emergency kit. Change of clothes, set of shoes, set of socks, maybe some food and water, nothing too heavy. Skip the canned goods, go straight for the lightweight stuff, guys, fruit roll-ups, Pop-Tarts, energy, food, that kind of stuff. Think of your kids, think of anybody else that you might be taking care of. Think of maybe an extra set of keys, an emergency radio if you can afford it, flashlight and batteries for sure in case it's the middle of the night, right? A whistle. Hey, this is something, again, I forget to tell people. But a whistle, if you're ever caught or trapped inside something, especially, this is just a job site rule, actually, with people that are working underground. Whistle, the high frequency of a whistle when you blow it will travel through things, and metal will pick it up and transfer it through the metal, and you can hear a whistle where you can't normally hear somebody shouting on the other side of a building or a wall, that you can blow a whistle and it will resonate through those metal bars that are, think about it. So if you're stuck in an area and you've got an emergency whistle, also think about it. When you're screaming, you waste moisture and your mouth gets dry, you get dust in it. You can just be blowing that whistle if you are trapped in an area, and people are likely to hear you more than screaming. Okay? So just little things. If you're trapped, one final thing, you can go around your house and just kind of safeguard it. That in a lot of these videos that I just watched coming out of Venezuela, restaurants, people's houses, dishes and cups and glasses broken all over the floor with cabinets open. And it's just a matter of a latch on a cabinet. They even make these little kid-proof latches to kid-proof your house. And it's an interior latch that goes on the inside of the cabinet. So it's not an ugly outside latch on the cabinet. And it just snaps, and you just reach your finger in on the underside to press it up to unlock it. But it's a plastic piece. It's a few cents or maybe $1 at the hardware store. And it could save all your dishes from flying out in an earthquake. Why not? It's just a matter of being proactive and doing it, like remembering to do it. So I'll give you a little homework. Go put the latches on your cabinets if you live in an earthquake-prone area. I did. I did it here in St. Louis, in Missouri. I live in New Madrid seismic zone. Got latches on the cabinets. Why not? My wife will thank me for saving all the china. Now, it is a pain in the butt when you got to reach for every cabinet and open it up. But you could take them off when it's not earthquake time. When you see the threat is passed, take the latches off if it really bothers you. Same thing for your refrigerator. Most refrigerators are designed to be moved pretty easy. And they have wheels or some kind of rollers on the underside maybe. Or maybe they're just have a smooth surface to make it easy to move. Well, guess what goes into motion when an earthquake happens? Your refrigerator. And it'll start sliding out. So on the back side of your refrigerator, you could use a small rope or a small piece of twine even, just a strong string even, to string into a stud behind the refrigerator. And you won't ever see it. It'll just be hanging there, and it'll be a little piece of rope that keeps it from sliding out from the wall. Just a perfect little thing, and it doesn't take but more than a minute to do it. Attach it to the back of the fridge, screw it around where the plug socket comes out, and screw it into the wall and the stud. There you go, done. So just little things that you can do that'll make a big difference down the road. And if you come outside with an emergency kit and you're standing there and all your neighbors are around you, and guess what they're not going to have? Unless they're prepared like you are, they're not going to have these things. They'll look at you and be like, man, I wish I would have thought, hey, can you spare a fruit roll up there? When people start asking you. That's why you keep your emergency plans to yourself almost. Because you go telling all your friends and family. You might want to tell your friends and family, actually, because you love them, but, maybe your friends, I don't know, acquaintances, maybe. People start making you part of their plan. They're like, I'm going to Johnson's house. Johnson's got the food and water. I'm going there. I don't have to make a plan. He's got it all. He's my friend. He'll let me in. Yeah, right. Well, you might. There's a Twilight Zone episode about that, where there's a nuclear warning that's launched in a Twilight Zone episode, and there's a guy who's got a bunker, and his friends are all over for a card party, and they all come back and try to bust into his bunker, and they do. And they come in, and they basically kill everybody. Well, because if you open the bunker, everybody's going to die, not just the people inside. Nobody's going to survive if the bunker door's off. Well, anyways, that's what people do when they go into panic mode. They want what everybody else has, and they want the safety that you have. So you might not want to broadcast your plans to the general neighbor and population around you, just to the people who you know and love. It's not being selfish. Just think of it this way. When you're on an airplane and they tell you if the cabin depressurizes, all those oxygen masks come down, right? Do you go around and put on everybody else's oxygen mask before you put on yours? I mean, it would be the right thing to do, wouldn't it? Think of everybody else's life before your own. I'm not being sarcastic. I'm being for real. You go put your mask on first because you don't want to be a liability to anyone else. Then you take care of the people around you. Well, the same thing applies for this. I'm not trying to lecture you, but this is serious go time, and I want you to be prepared. There's a lot of new viewers here who have never viewed before. Okay, so that's all we've got. The time now is 11:20 p.m. Central Time. And we're going to save this as a video over on YouTube for people to watch back into the future. So if you've missed the update at any portion, you can rewind over on YouTube and watch there. And for my Twitch viewers, you guys are very much appreciated. You've made the difference in the past few weeks, the last couple of weeks since I've been here, since August 6th. You have made such a difference in the world, and you've possibly saved lives, certainly averted injuries, and that's probably the best use for social media I think I've ever seen, and I am happy to be part of it. I can't believe I'm part of this, and you guys are responsible for it, so thank you. And we'll be back. I'll be in chat probably in a little while, and I've been going all day. I'm going to be going all night. Word up and much love. Peace out.
In 1920, Prohibition arrived, and a country just recovering from the war jitters fell into a new delirium. College students, yes, even high school kids and flappers, joined the mad party, and the jazz age was born.
Until I first met you, I was lonesome. And when you came inside, dear, my heart grew light and this whole world seemed new to me. You're really swell, I have to admit you deserve expressions that really fit you. So I racked my brain, hoping to explain all the things that you do to me. By mere Mr. Shane, please let me explain. By mere Mr. Shane, means your breath. By mere Mr. Shane, again I'll explain. It means you're the fairest in the land. I could say Bella, Bella, even said under Far East language only helps me tell you how grand you are. I tried to explain by mere Mr. Shane, so you see and say you understand. Back once again with the ill behavior. One for the trouble, two for hard times. One for the trouble, two for hard times. One for the trouble, two for hard times. People get ready, it's time for the child to shine. Mr. Shane, you've heard all before, but let me try to explain. By me, Mr. Shane means that you're brave.
2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
By me, Mr. Shane, it's such no pain, and yet I should explain. It means I am thanking for your hand. I could say Bella, Bella, even said under Far East language only helps me tell you how grand you are. Lady, people get ready, it's time for the child to shine. So one for the trouble, two for hard times. One for the trouble, two for hard times. One for the trouble, two for hard times. People get ready, it's time for the child to shine. So one for the trouble, two for hard times. One for the trouble, two for hard times. One for the trouble, two for hard times. People get ready, it's time for the child to shine.
Hello there and welcome. I'm glad you could make it on this trip to one of Britain's deadliest places. Now keep your wits about you in this strange and distant land as we go on a quest to find the great British land. A couple housekeeping tips I need to quickly mention. Please don't flash photography, you'll only draw attention. Soak yourself in aftershave and use it as a mask and put this skin tight t-shirt on to act as camouflage. Now that's all been covered, we're ready to get started. There's a pack of lads now, just look at their markings. Their unique tattoos differ them from rival gangs. A bunch of Chinese symbols and a couple tribal bands. There's 6 of them in total, and though they're mostly social, they're likely to attack another pack if they're not local. They operate collectively and often have a tendency to urinate in public places just to mark their territory.
Welcome to the jungle, it's a hostile terrain. A dangerous location full of predators and prey. It may not seem that way to you, especially in the day. But when night falls, it turns into a very different place.
Let's take a closer look at this group in particular. Hands up anybody here who knows this bit of trivia. What 2 traits does the alpha male exhibit? Yes, you at the back. He's the loudest and the biggest. Correct. Now in this group, Gav is the leader, and he's in charge of all the beta males who are weaker. When it comes to where to go, he makes the selection, and when he cracks a joke, they all laugh without exception. The female of the species also has degrees of status, but their rank is measured on a slightly different basis. The queen bee is usually the one who's most attractive, so being alpha lad comes with another big advantage. The system is accepted and must always be respected, as failure to comply can cause a lad to get ejected. This might not seem fair to you, and I agree it isn't, but out here in the jungle, it's survival of the fittest.
Welcome to the jungle, it's a hostile terrain. A dangerous location full of predators and prey. It may not seem that way to you, especially in the day.
find a partner to take home for the night. There's more men than women, which is always the way. So they engage in a complex courtship display. This can range from anything from dancing and posing to telling her about the kind of car that he's owning. Don't look now, but I think we got a match. Gab's got his Tracy and she thinks he's a catch. They're grinding on the dance floor, but just before they leave, they're greeted by her ex-making partner called Steve. Neither will back down, so a violent fight ensues. Where everything from foreheads to beer bottles are used. Steve is victorious, so on this occasion, Gab goes home with a kebab to watch PlayStation. It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under.
Pâtisserie empoisonnée. La valeur pâté à coudre.
Et un peu de sucre en poudre.
Not healthy. All my children in the daytime, Dallas at night. Can't even see the game or the Sugar Ray fight. The bill collectors, they ring my phone, scare my wife when I'm not home. Got a bum education, double-digit inflation. Can't take the train to the job. There's a strike at the station. Neon King Kong standing on my back, can't stop to turn around. Broke my sacroiliac, a mid-range migraine, cancer, membrane. Sometimes I think I'm going insane. I swear I might hijack a plane.